interesting and a unique topic, especially with regards to the obesity in children. Has to be processed in the brain to decide about a efferent signal. And the major part of the hypothalamus which is going to work here is the mediobasal hypothalamus, and we can classify into two important regions. The anorexic region, which is essentially going to tell, okay, don't eat, spend more, and this is going to work through the POMC, BDNF and the CART pathway, along with the effect of norepinephrine and serotonin. And the orexogenic pathway, which is saying, okay, we want to eat more, spend less, mainly via the AGRP, the agouti related peptide, the neuropeptide Y, MCH, orexin and the endocannabinoid factor. So there are two groups of neurons which are yin and yang, which are opposing each other, and it is the balance between the two which really determines the overall energy status in that perspective. So as discussed, energy status represents how much you eat and how much you spend, and the balance between the two is basically the balance between the anorexic pathway, which says eat less, spend more, and the orexogenic pathway, which says eat more, spend less. And it's the balance between the two which decides what's the actual energy status for a given individual. And as discussed earlier, the major pathophysiological basis of genetic obesity is largely at the level of energy intake and not at the level of energy expenditure. There may be one or two conditions in which there is reduced energy expenditure as a major cause of genetic obesity. Most is because of increased intake, and this increased intake, we'll again have to say, is largely because of decreased satiety rather than increased hunger. So it's the satiety which is most important, the anorexic signals which are the most important to understand in this perspective. And to understand that, we need to know that there are two groups of neurons. We've got the anorexic neurons which have got co-expression of POMC. POMC, as we know, is the pro-opiomelanocortin, which is the precursor of ACTH, and MSH, endorphin, which we'll discuss subsequently as well, along with CART, which is a cocaine amphetamine related transcript. So these neurons express both POMC and CART. POMC is a precursor of the melanocyte stimulating hormone, which acts via its receptor, largely the MC4 and partly the MC3 receptor, to stimulate the anorexic pathway, decreasing food intake and increasing energy expenditure. On the side by side are the orexogenic neurons, the AGRP and the neuropeptide Y, which are the agouti related peptide which inhibit the MC3 pathway. So in a way, both of them are modulating the effects of each other, allowing the energy expenditure and regulation to be controlled in that perspective. Now, as discussed, the crux of the energy overall metabolism represents the energy intake, that too problems in satiety, and the major regulator of satiety or the anorexic area is the POMC. Now, POMC is a large compound, pro-opiomelanocortin, which has got a signal peptide, an N-terminal peptide. It has got three important splice regions, which include the melanocyte stimulating hormone, the ACTH and the endorphin. And these three are spliced using specific genes, and then they are also converted via the enzymes proconvertase and carboxypeptidase, which play an important role in overall expression of this particular compound. Now, one of the most important compounds from a nutritional perspective, the energy perspective, which comes out of POMC is the MSH, which is acting via the MC1 receptor to regulate pigmentation, but also acts via the two important receptors MC3 and MC4 receptor to allow anorexic signaling, reducing food intake, increasing energy expenditure. And ACTH, of course, will act via the MC2 receptor to act on cortisol, and endorphin has a pain regulation in that perspective. Disorders in the POMC pathway, which include the POMC gene defect, the proconvertase defect, which doesn't allow this conversion of POMC into MSH and ACTH, and the carboxypeptidase would therefore result in a combination of early onset hyperphagia and obesity, along with central cortisol deficiency, ACTH deficiency, and in certain ethnic groups, pigmentary abnormalities. So, ACTH deficiency with severe obesity should directly point towards a possibility of a POMC slash proconvertase slash carboxypeptidase pathway defect. So now if you look at the POMC neuron, the major regulator of POMC production in the arcuate nucleus is actually the leptin, which then produces POMC, which is converted via proconvertase 1 and carboxypeptidase into MSH along with the other fragments which are being produced. And this MSH then acts on the paraventricular nuclei of the lateral hypothalamus on its receptor, mainly MC4, but also MC3 receptor, to stimulate the production of the brain-derived neurotropic factor in the ventromedial hypothalamus, which then acts on its own receptor, the TRK beta, to cause major effects as far as food intake inhibition and increase energy expenditure in that perspective. So it is this very important leptin, POMC, proconvertase, carboxypeptidase, MSH, MC3, MC4 receptor, BDNF, and TRK beta. If you remember these are more than 90% of the genes which are implicated in the pathophysiology of monogenic obesity, and it is the satiety center which is the most important. So this pathway is crucial in terms of overall understanding of obesity pathophysiology and pathobiology. Now this pathway is stimulated of course via leptin and insulin as discussed, as well as high levels of glucose. Serotonin also stimulates the pathway, so pharmacological agents which acts on the serotonin receptor or which increase serotonin level will also be effective in terms of treatment of obesity. However, most of these mechanisms that have been used, including fenfluramine, a number of other agents which sibutramine, as well as the 5-HT1C agonist, have to be removed because of potential effects as far as mood disturbances and even a suicidal tendency is concerned in that perspective. The pathway is inhibited via, of course, the antagonist, the AGRP, and ghrelin, which is essentially a orexigenic pathway in that perspective. Along with POMC, there is another compound which is also there in these neurons, which are the CART neuron, which is basically inducer of anorexia. It is also stimulated via leptin, inhibited via feeding, and an important factor to consider, and both POMC CART work together hand in hand. The action of POMC and CART is inhibited via the AGRP, the agutylated peptide, and the neuropeptide Y pathway. Now this AGRP is essentially antagonizing the action of all the mineralocorticoid receptors, so theoretically it can also have an effect as far as pigmentation is concerned, but it's mainly acting as the MC4 receptor antagonist. So once it antagonizes that, it will have an orexogenic effect, more to eat, less to spend. The other impact of AGRP, of course, is on the sympathetic nervous system, and it also has an impact on the adipocytes, wherein the energy expenditure becomes less because there is an impaired browning and the uncoupling activity, which we'll discuss subsequently. The neuropeptide Y is also there, which is an important orexogenic signal, increasing appetite, adipogenesis, and cortisol response in that perspective. So AGRP, neuropeptide Y, is an antagonist of the POMC CART pathway. This is stimulated, of course, via signals which increase energy intake like ghrelin and dopamine, inhibited via leptin, insulin, and protein YY and GABA. And these two pathways, the AGRP and the POMC, are central to the understanding as well as the pathophysiology of genetic obesity in that perspective. Now, as we've discussed, there are very few signals which are actually orexogenic. Major signals were more of anorexic. We talked about ghrelin as a peripheral signal. There are a few central signals which are also oryxogenic, including the MCH, which is the melanocyte concentrating hormone secreted via the zona increta, mainly regulated in terms of food regulation. There are a few orexins A and B, which increase neuropeptide Y, also have an impact on the cortisol secretion and the sympathetic activity, and very importantly the endogenous cannabinoid system, which is acting via the corticotropin releasing factor CART MCH neuron, mainly regulating the cortisol effect and the stress effect. So there are multiple signals which are there in terms of increasing the intake of food as well as reducing energy expenditure, but their relative role in terms of pathobiology of genetic obesity is quite limited, as the most important factor which is causing this genetic obesity is actually increased intake due to reduced satiety, and in that anorexic signals are much more important in that perspective. Now we discussed about how the central processing unit, the anorexic and the orexigenic pathway, get signals from the chemical pathways as well as from the neural pathways. Now how do they really translate this in terms of effect? And this involves the efferent signals, including both the sympathetic as well as the parasympathetic regions in that perspective. The sympathetic pathway essentially is a very important pathway which is stimulated via the leptin signaling. So as the leptin goes up, the POMC levels will go up and the sympathetic system will come up, and this will trigger increased amount of energy expenditure along with reduced food intake. So the SNS pathway will then reduce intake via a direct effect. It will act via the beta 2 receptor in the muscles to increase energy loss, predominantly via the uncoupling pathway. So there will be a way in which much more energy will be wasted rather than produced because of this effect on the UCP pathway. It also has an increased thyroid effect, increasing thyroid synthesis release, as well as lipolysis and energy loss which happens. Now this process of lipolysis will release fatty acids, which in a way again inhibit leptin. So there is a direct loop between leptin, which stimulates the sympathetic pathway, and the sympathetic pathway which inhibits leptin production, forming the basis of this feedback mechanisms. Conditions associated with leptin resistance therefore will result in lower sympathetic activity, increasing leptin levels, and therefore high leptin levels are characteristic of most forms of obesity and are not an indicator of inherited defects as far as leptin action is concerned in that perspective. The parasympathetic pathway also plays a very important role, and it is regulated in that perspective, and in situations where the vagus goes up, it will act the opposite as far as the sympathetic system, which is essentially increasing energy. This is actually resting and digesting. So once vagus is stimulated, the absorption becomes more, the cardiac activity becomes less, insulin secretion becomes more, there is an insulin release which will cause anabolic pathway and cause energy storage in that regards. There would also be lipogenesis. So the effect of the parasympathetic system is diametrically opposite as compared to the sympathetic system. It is going to increase the amount of energy and further enhance in that perspective. So if we now look at the overall perspective of energy balance, there is of course a central processing unit which involves the mediobasal hypothalamus, including the ventromedial, arcuate and the tractus solitarius from the vagus, which comprises of the anorexic pathway, the POMC CART pathway, which decreases intake, increases expenditure, the orexigenic pathway, the AGRP neuropeptide Y, which increases intake, decreases expenditure, which is provided information about the nutritional status and the gastric distension via the vagus, ghrelin, nutrient status, GLP-1, neuropeptide Y, CCK, insulin and amylin in acute state, and the long-term status via the leptin, which provides the overall energy status. The effect of this central processing unit and the processing of the afferent signals culminates in the balance between the sympathetic and the parasympathetic activity, which really regulates the amount of energy which is being either spent via the sympathetic pathway or which is stored via the vagal pathway. Now, within this paradigm of intake and utilization, it is the intake which is the major determinant of genetic obesity, and within intake, it is problems of satiety which are the major mediators which have to be understood in that perspective. Now, what we need to understand here is that food restriction is a common way in which obesity is being managed. Nutritional intake becomes less, but the problem is, as soon as the food is restricted, there would be a increased vagal problem which will happen. So distensibility will be less, ghrelin level will go up, which will mean there will be more intake of food. There would be impact on leptin as well, so leptin will go down, and the whole pathway will then trigger a process of the inhibiting the anorexic pathway, resulting in lower energy expenditure. So essentially, any condition causing food restriction will increase ghrelin, more food intake, decrease leptin, reduce energy expenditure, will again cause effect on the vagus and the sympathetic system, causing weight gain. And this is a major problem which happens in terms of nutrition and nutritional interventions. And this is what we're talking about. So if there is a weight loss which happens, often there will be a weight stabilization followed by weight gain. Now, the problem which happens here is that because of the weight loss, the leptin levels will fall. And the way the body has been adjusted is that it is there to maintain a leptin level. Even if the leptin levels are high, if they have fallen down, there would be a situation wherein there would be a response which will result in weight gain. Now, this leptin fall, along with rise in ghrelin, would be the important factors which cause weight regain after these nutritional interventions. So it's very, very important to understand of mechanisms by which we can counter this process of leptin fall and ghrelin excess, and people have tried giving leptin which will help out in that perspective, but this is an important factor to understand from a nutshell in that regards.